What's up, guys? It's wine time. Oh, look at there. This one's coming at me. It's like, hello, how are you? I'm fine. You want to get together? Tell you what, the hummingbirds here in Kansas have been crazy today. Like, there must be babies about or something, because I have practically seen a hummingbird every 10 minutes, which is strange. Very strange. But, be that as it may. Slight digression. Okay, today was huge. Today I had a big day. I expected to get a lot done in terms of things, completed on my project list. It turns out I really only got one thing done, and then while that one thing was uploading, it was a video, it was a promo, it was a trailer for this new book that I got about to be released, called The Happy Marriage Hot Sex Handbook, which, let me tell you, has all my secrets. It's got everything in it that I use on a daily basis in order to have a phenomenal relationship with my wife, phenomenal relationship with my son, amazing sex, if we're being, like, it's wine time. Come on, loosen up. So be looking for that, okay? It's going to be on Amazon, it's going to be on my website. You'll find it someplace. It'll be there. But, even bigger, I'm slipping wine out of my whiskers and stuff. It's disgusting. Even more important than that, today we had a hell of an event. Okay, now my son has this sensory thing where, long story short, he doesn't like it when teeth fall out of his head. And growing up, you know that's just a natural part of it. It's just the way things go. Your teeth fall out of your head, and that's just what happens. And normally, what you would do is you'd wiggle them, and then eventually they just kind of come out. Now, Jesse has had an interesting time with teeth. He's had 2 teeth knocked out in kind of traumatic experiences. One time, he leapt into thin air as a child, like a young child, expecting his mother to catch him when they were actually on their way to the dentist. Had 15 minutes to kill. Stopped at a playground where they were playing. He leapt out. She wasn't watching. He saw she wasn't watching. He grabbed on, swung back around, and clocked himself in the teeth. And his first lost tooth was lost to the wood chips. Next was when my good friend John, JFM, John from Manchester, was playing with him in the backyard. And they were playing on the tire swing that I had made, and I had made it, like a Nebraskan Zuha, like very, very safe. And I had this big eye bolt, and Jesse he pushed him, John gave him a big push, boom, knocked out some teeth. Or one tooth, can't remember. So it's always happened very quick, and he's never really had to think about it, but today he actually had to think about it, and he's been avoiding having these teeth wiggled or pulled out because it feels weird, and like the teeth they're just sitting in there, Anyway, we decided that it was time. Today was the day, and I knew that he didn't want to do it, and I thought to myself, okay, well, I am already paying him. I don't pay him to do household chores. He really doesn't do household chores because, as far as I'm concerned, what I want to see him, what I want him to see modeled is somebody who's really happy to chip in, which is me, really happy to chip in with the housework. That way he doesn't ever feel like housework is some huge drag. Like when I grew up, housework was always, here, I'll pay you $5 to do some chores. Well, all of a sudden it became really, well, I'll do this, but will you pay me? Instead of just helping out the family, I all of a sudden wanted to be paid. So I don't do that with him. I don't pay him for chores. I don't even really ask him to help out with, routine chores. But I will ask him to do things. I'll say, Bubba, put this stuff away. Or I'll say, Bubba, will you please do this? Bubba, will you please do that? 9 times out of 10, he will. Because I have his heart, because I put in the time, and because I never make it a have-to thing. It's always just something he does because he loves me and because I ask him to. Which is a really, you can't buy that kind of influence. You have to earn it. But what I have been paying him to do recently is actually grow his mind, okay? And take in the kind of knowledge and stuff information that is going to actually make him money in the future. So things that 10-year-old boys probably ordinarily wouldn't be watching, like The Secret or Riley Dane's Abundance Factor, or listening to any of Joe Vitale's stuff, or listening to Think and Grow Rich, or The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles, or the magic, what was the key system? The some kind of key system. I gotta watch that one. But The Magic of Believing, things like that. That, as Jim Rohn says, work harder on yourself than you do your business. Work harder on your job than you work harder on yourself than you do your job. When you change, everything will change for you. And so I have very much taken that on board. And I said to him that this is the kind of stuff. This is like doing household chores is never going to make you money. That is not a moneymaker unless you become a maid or a butler and you somehow create a business out of that. And then you hire other people, but by and large, that's not going to be where you make money. But you will make money the more time and effort you put into bettering your mind. So, the way I made it make sense to me is I'll pay you. I said to Jesse, wow, locust just. Oh no, it's not a locust. Alright. It's a beetle of some sort. What kind of beetle it is. I don't know, he's in a bad way. It's a beetle over there that's really suffering, but I can't. It's wine time. I can't go over there. He'll be fine. Beetle. Oh, he's away. It's good. Just hit something again. Yeah, I just hit something. Okay, he's done for. Anyway, I said, this is actually the kind of stuff that's going to make you more money. You know, growing up, this is mindset stuff. You get your mindset right. If you can get this right, then that's what's going to change. I know that's what changed it for me. Changing my mindset, changing the way I thought about things, and I'm still doing it now. But I said, if I can get this done nice and early with you, I'll pay you for it. I will spot you the money prior to it actually coming in, prior to the time when you actually have a real chance of making money, because you either grow a little bit older, gain a little bit more experience, or worldly knowledge, things like that. And I said, I'll spot you that money, okay? So for every hour you do X, I'll give you some money. If you do every hour you do Y, I'll give you some money. So that's what we've been doing, okay? And he has, probably over the last couple of weeks, earned himself about $150, okay? Not bad for a child of 10. Especially considering that really all he has to do is sit there, play Lego like he normally does, because he's obsessed with Lego, but play Lego like he normally does, and listen to this stuff, or watch this stuff, okay? He has the opportunity to make money at any time, as long as he is improving his mind and taking in the information that I feel is going to be most beneficial to his mindset moving forward, right? Today, he had these 3 teeth that needed to come out. We wanted them out. And I knew that he didn't want to do it. So I could see this mental barrier, right? So I could see the mental barrier. And I said, I'm going to really make this worth your while, because he has been, because we go out to Utah August 25th, I think August 25th. We're doing this collaboration with Carol Tuttle. Carol Tuttle of Dress Your Truth fame. If you don't know Carol, go and find Carol, because she's phenomenal. I love her. Me and Carol, tight, thick as thieves. So go and find Carol. But we're going out to Carol, and so he's had this thing where he has been working towards getting this $500 Star Wars Lego Death Star thing. Like, that is what he wanted. And even though all he really wanted was the minifigs, and all he really wanted, that was his 20%. And I didn't think it was necessarily the wisest use of his money. I have always told him money is easily made, because it's a mindset thing. I said, money is so easily made. You can make money anywhere. You can make money anytime, any place, anywhere. Money is easily made, because that's something that I want him to have. I never want him to struggle with money in the way that I've struggled with money in the past. So I've always told him that. I've said, basically, whatever, buy whatever you want. $500 Lego Death Star that's mostly good for minifigs, go for it. Who cares? It's just money. It's a resource, right? That's what I want him to get. That's what I want in his head. Anyway, he's been trying like heck in order to make this a reality, because he wanted to have this Death Star before we went out to Utah. That way he could take it with him, put it together in Utah, right? That was going to be his big woohoo. And he's fallen a little bit behind. fallen a little bit behind, but still wanted the Death Star, still wanted something. I think he'd kind of lost a little bit of enthusiasm for the Death Star, especially when I pointed out that basically you can buy rip-off Lego. You know, all he wanted was the minifigs. All he wanted was the the Darth Vader and the Emperor and whatever. Like, you can buy that for $35 on eBay. Sure, they're rip-offs, but I mean, who cares? You still get to play with them. And so he kind of lost a bit of enthusiasm for that, which is an interesting, you know, that's being able to notice that and say, okay, well, figure out what the actual why is. What is it that you actually want? But that's a whole nother video. The bottom line here is that I said you have the opportunity to claw your way back in, because I can see that these teeth, they need to go. I said, I am willing to give you $20 per tooth if we can pull them out today. Because they're just sitting in there. It's a psychological game. I can see that he had this mental barrier. He had this mental block where he really needed to get through this. I wanted him to get through it, because that's not something that you want for the rest of your life. If you have some kind of a weakness that you can identify and say, I have this real sensory thing that paralyzes me and makes me go, like, I know, like, I fight my body. All we're after here is control over the body, because if you control your body, you can control your state. If you control your state, you control the transfer of energy between you and the rest of the world, and if you can control that, then you're in control. You're dominant. You are dominant. All of a sudden, everything that goes on in your world is up to you and you alone. Nobody's coming to save you because you're the hero, right? This is something I'm going to form this whole new course out of this, because this is like epiphanous stuff. Anyway, said I'll give you $20 per tooth. And he went in, and it took a little bit of coaxing. It took a team. There's so much here to actually learn from that I could go into. There's a number of different videos on this that I could go into. And I will, later on. But right now, what we're talking about is the fact that he went in there. And it took about an hour to actually build up the psychological wherewithal to go in there, lay down, open his mouth consciously, allow his mother to fiddle around in his mouth and yank out the tooth. And he did it. He did it twice. The third one, he said the third one doesn't actually feel as wobbly now, because he had two that were right next to one another. He said the third one doesn't feel wobbly enough to pull out. The first two did. So he's speaking honestly to us. But that took balls. I mean, if you really think about it, if you build something up in your head, as he had built this thing up in his head. I've got a friend who's going to be moving to Mexico soon, and she was shitting bricks about telling her mom that she was going to be moving to Mexico. Absolutely SMDs. And so she built it up in her head, and built it up in her head, and built it up in her head, and my wife talked her through it, and on the day when she actually went to tell her, she was in such a great frame of mind because of the help that my wife had given her, and obviously she had done the work herself, but she showed up to that meeting, and her mom's like, oh, well, that's nice. Totally not expecting it. Not expecting it at all. But there was this big mental block. So I want you to know that even though most of us go through life and we're like, yank the tooth, whatever. For him, it was a really big deal. Whereas, you know, for the rest of us, liken that to, like, you know, fear factor number 2. Okay? And I just want to applaud him for his effort. And I know he'll watch this later. I really want to applaud him for his effort, because it took mental power. It took brain power. And that's why I paid him. That's why I said, I'll give you $20 per tooth, because I knew it was a mental barrier. How much more powerful would our children be moving forward if instead of paying them to unload the fucking dishwasher, pardon my, oh, sorry. He's going to watch this later. Shush. Jesse, plug your ears. If we, instead of paying them for unloading the dishwasher or sweeping the floor or taking out the rubbish, how about you pay them for overcoming mental barriers? How about you pay them for taking great strides as human beings? How about you pay them for facing fears? How about you make their mental work so much more valuable as it actually is? Think about yourself as a person, as an adult. If you had somebody there being your coach saying, look, I can see that you're scared of committing here. I can see that you're afraid of showing your feelings. I can see that you're afraid of getting up and talking to people. I can see that you're afraid of taking your driver's license test. I can see that you're afraid of going in for this and asking for this raise. I can see that you're afraid of asking this mentor of yours for any kind for mentorship, for anything that's going to increase your standing in the world, increase your authority, your ability, your, whatever. Something that's going to really cause you to have like the more of the life that you want. If you had somebody there saying, I'll give you $80 for that. I'll give you $150. Go in right now, I'll give you $500 for that. Someone who's just willing to give you that little bit more leverage and put it into perspective, which is what we did for him. We said, you can get a lot of Lego for that. 60 extra bucks, you can get the next thing up from Lego, which is what you're going to get. Whatever. Don't we want to teach our kids that? Don't we want to teach our kids the power of leverage? Don't we want to help them break through these mental blocks early? Instead of, I'm going to reward you for doing something that you should be doing anyway. Taking out the crap, unloading the dishwasher, sweeping the floor, whatever. I'm going to pay you to do that, which is going to make you resentful of it in the first place. When I can pay you to do the things that are actually going to, like there's an actual result. There's a correlation where you build your mind and you will be paid more. You build your mind and you will be a better person. You build your mind, you get this, you get something of value. Whereas helping out around the house, that's just relationships. That's just your family. So I know this video has gone a little bit long. I don't care. It's my video. I do it in one take and then I upload it. And that's what I love about these. What I love about coffee time and wine time is that I'm not all stressed out about having the perfection. I had this amazing conversation with two beautiful people down in Adelaide last night with my wife, Reno and Sarah, who are just awesome. And I spoke with Reno, and he, when he's getting on his YouTube, he's much more likely to just get on and say, screw it, I'm just getting on, and it's going to be rough, and it's going to be kind of raw, whereas Sarah's kind of the perfectionist. And I have kind of two of these sides to me, where, like, I desperately want to just get on and get it done, but then I'm also a perfectionist. So this is one of those ways in which I grow, but nobody's paying me. Nobody's paying me to do the stuff that makes me uncomfortable at all. This is one of those things where I've got to force myself through it. But how much more successful would I be if when I was a kid, my father or my mother was looking at me and saying, I can see you've got a mental barrier here. I can see that you've got something that really bugs you. We're going to fix this right now. We're going to use whatever leverage is necessary in order to make that happen. Because you deserve to not have to go into adulthood with this kind of a hang-up, with this kind of a, like, I've had to work through a lot of stuff in my life. I've had to work and work and work. And it's been a pain in the ass, and I'm thinking to myself, why didn't anybody help me? Why didn't anybody look out for me in that way? Why didn't anybody, like the people when I was under their authority, my parents, why didn't you say, I can see that you've got a problem with it? It's because they had problems of their own. So I guess I don't know what I'm saying. I've worked through a lot of my own problems. I'm always working on my own, on myself, which means I can look out for my child, which means I can look and I can really analyze him and I can say, is this an issue? Because I don't want this to become an issue at all. Uh-oh, baby's coming to find me. Is she naked? Not naked. She's wearing lots of clothes. Anyway, I gotta go. Wine time's over. Bye.